Hello, future people! Welcome to Getting Tabled. I'm Jason the Bruce, and today we're unboxing the biggest ship in the game. So, back into Dropfleet Commander, and yes, like I said, the biggest ship in Dropfleet Commander, at least at time of recording. If you're watching this at some later stage, maybe there's something bigger than a Dreadnaught. But of all of the Dreadnaughts, the PHR is the biggest. Only by a little bit, but this is the biggest. Now, I do need to acknowledge, this is not mine. I did not buy this. This belongs to a local player. This had this in his pile of shame for quite a while, and was allowing me to do an opening of it for the channel. Thank you very much, mate. I mean, I do appreciate it. I know I said this to you in person, but I do appreciate it. But now, let's get into the box, and then laugh at Major Socks, because I can look at this and he can't. Alright, so first things first, artwork is absolutely phenomenal. It was for the Scourge one as well, but this is just a really, really nice piece of art. Especially with the planet and stuff in the background, it's really, really sets it off. On the back, you get an idea of the, I would argue, the preferred build of it, as far as we're concerned. Both the Romulus and the Remus are both very nice ships, but this particular gun is something you can build a fleet around. This is really, really good, and we have called out this ship on a number of occasions when we've been talking about Dropfleet Commander. So, definitely very worthwhile. The usual larger base. So, first things first. Absolute phenomenal detail. You do have a bit of a seam line here that you're going to need to file down a bit. It's not quite flat. If you look at the artwork, there is actually a line down there. I mean, you can completely round it off if you want, but that is a deliberate design in the ship itself. Underneath, we've got continued nice detail under here. I really like this. The back is very reminiscent of as well. Got that same panel line going down here. You do have a bit of cleanup that needs to be done on the inside here. That is very, very rough, I have to admit. That's very rough. I'm not really worried about these bubbles. These are bubbles that will have just appeared on the top, and quite frankly, it's an area that you're not going to see, because that will eventually, and you'll probably find, yeah. So there's a lot of cleanup that needs to be done here. I would probably argue that probably a little much. There's no real slippage or anything, which is good. A little bit of cleanup along the top here as well. That's probably a little bit more annoying there. More so than the inside. Detail-wise, this is just phenomenal, though. You're looking at around 7 inches by the time it's together, I would argue. I'm trying to allow for the fact that it's not actually sitting flush, so around 7 inches. Maybe, probably about 7 1/4. It's very, very large. And about 1.5 inches tall. That's just the main body itself. What you can see here are weapon options that go onto the side of the panels. They're kind of panel lining, but with weapons. So the ones that I'm holding here are the ones that the torpedoes go into, and these are your other option. Depending on which version of the ship you build will depend on how you actually put these, and we will go into that a little bit later. Another gun here, this is torpedo, because we always need a torpedo. And then the gun of the hour. Really, really nice detail on this. It's really, really pretty. Not weighing the much mold lines on this particular piece. Now, obviously, you're going to have to be careful when you're slicing this off. I mean, it's in an area that you're not really going to see much. I love that they've kind of included the ratcheting on the inside of this seam here. I don't know how well that's going to show under camera, to be honest. But it's almost like a ratcheting, like what you get on a toy, where the arm and the fingers have to kind of ratchet in place and then stay there. That's a detail that you really didn't have to include, but it is there. It's really, really nice. Another option here. A little bit of cleanup that needs to be done with the gates there. Nothing too drastic. Again, just really, really nice detail. Fins for the ships. This one is going to be going that way. So that will attach. Where do you attach? There, I think. Not 100% sure, but I think that's where it goes. This is your other option, which is also a really nice giant cannon. So with the Romulus and the Remus, either you can have this, or you can have this. It's one or the other. And so that goes with that. And by the look of it, honestly, yes, I believe that you could magnetize this. Goes in there nice and smoothly. It doesn't ratchet in. It's not like you do that and it's never going to come off. So all you'd need is to get a magnet lined up there, along with the right position on here, and then it would just snap in place really easily. Now, obviously, you've got cleanup and stuff to do around here. So these bits you would super glue. And then again, that will go here. And so ultimately you will have this as one piece and that as one piece. That's the way that I would recommend building it. All right, so we now know that we can magnetize the weapons. But what about the side? So I'm going to bring in the artwork for a second. So on one version of the ship, so the one with the big cannon, we can see that we have the torpedoes on the side, and it would be the same on the other side. Whereas on the other version, with your big burn-through laser, you have two lots of those. So this is something that you should easily be able to magnetize. So this is, I'm just going to measure maybe somewhere between 3 and 4 mil thick. It's kind of hard to measure something that small. I would probably argue you're going to want something a little wider, so either 2 or 3 mil, but you're not going to want to go too thick into here, because if you go too thick, so if you go too far in, you're going to end up drilling through. So you might be able to get away with a 3 mil magnet. I'd be probably more aiming towards 2 mil, either a 2 mil by 2 mil, or maybe even a 2 mil by 1. If you go 2 mil by 1, you're going to want to use multiple magnets. You could also blue tack these. Now these are actually slightly warped. It's not too bad, but you will still need to straighten them if yours turn out like this. And then obviously you'll need to make sure that you do the same thing where they line up on this side. And then they'll go in and you won't have any further issues. Like they'll just sit there and they'll be fine. So, another engine here. Another fin. That one is a little bit warped, so we'll need to use some hot water to get that one straightened out. That's not something that John really needs to be concerned over. It's something that's quite common with resin kits. A little bit of hot water. Bend it back into place. let it cool down, and you'll be fine. It's perfectly normal. Another thing I want to point out, and this is a very good example of it. Notice how we've got 3 different colours of resin there? This is also not a problem. It's just because resin is a 2-part procedure, you don't always get exactly the perfect amount every time, and so you'll get colour variations like that. It's not something to be concerned about. It's actually completely normal. The only thing to be concerned of is that they'll just need to straighten that up, and it's not that big of a deal. We actually have 1, 2, 3, 4 torpedoes and a couple of smaller fins as well. This particular box, this particular ship is one that we've spoken about quite a long time. Of the Dreadnaughts, this really was one of the standouts. Now, there's argument to be made whether you really need to take a Dreadnaught in a game or not. Like, you want to be playing a big game to justify this. You can't take these in small games anyway. But the PHR one in particular is something that you really could build a very powerful fleet around. It's just absolutely insane. Not broken, but it's very powerful. At a tournament, I don't know if they've been taken in tournaments, honestly. Like, the power game tends to be in the battle cruisers, generally speaking. But in all honesty, if you're playing Dropfleet Commander and you haven't bought your version of the Dreadnaught yet, honestly, especially if you're PHR, I'd argue this is a must-own. And this is something that you need to try on the table for yourself. I definitely would recommend it. Because they're just too good not to. Again, like, the power in the game is in the battle cruisers. I'm not arguing otherwise. But these are still something that you need to own. Not just as a collector. Thank you very much for checking out this video. If you're enjoying the content of this channel, please like and subscribe. If you're in a position to do so, please check out patreon.com/gettingtabled. You receive early access to at least 80% of all videos that we put out, and you get access to the video edition of all of our podcasts the day that they're uploaded. If you'd like to check us out on social media, facebook.com/gettingtabled is the most active. We also have a Discord server. You can email our team at gettingtabled@gmail.com. If you're on either Twitter or Instagram, you can find us at gettingtabled. And until next time, play more.